but do no wrong. Gone is the pride felt on that day, gone are the friends that entered the fray. When the rivers ran red, 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 when the rivers ran red. Gone, gone are those halcyon days, we were all so lost. Gone, gone are those halcyon days, we gladly paid the cost. Gone is the rage that no blood could slake, gone is the wrath that made the foe break. When the rivers ran red, 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 when the rivers ran red. Gone, gone are those halcyon days, we were all so young. Gone, gone are those halcyon days, aged when we were done. Gone are the screams still in my head, gone are the fields of the glorious dead. When the rivers ran red, 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 when the rivers ran red. But those days are gone, 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 gone. Those days are gone, when the rivers ran red, 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 back when we won. Gone, gone are the halcyon days, gone are the days of yore. Gone, gone are those halcyon days when we went off to war. Gone are the clouds that hung overhead, gone is the rain tinged with red.
Hello, thanks for coming along to the stream. This is going to be the tale of the beards. I get the feeling.
Beards and busy backgrounds.
Yes, yeah, very very busy. We've got the washing. We've got my daughter's pictures. We're doing well. And we got it's Randy, isn't it, behind you?
The one directly behind me. The little one is, yeah.
Yeah,
And
excellent stuff.
Yeah.
So when we've done this before, it's just a load of questions we go through. If people want to can't ask anything or anything like that, then just ask the questions. I've got all the chat and stuff like that in front of me now, so I can actually see that. It's better than having it all over there on my TV, so I've been turning my head constantly. So, but as I said before, it's reading. It's like exercise for the eyes, and I don't like it. So, so first question, nice and simple. Well, I should say, really, thanks for doing this, mate. I really appreciate it.
That's all right, mate. No worries.
So, first question, nice and simple. When did you start role playing?
Well, it would have to be when I was about 13 years old in the bedroom, and no, it was. Well, I mean, Empire. This is the thing. I'm actually quite. I'm quite inexperienced in LARPing, official LARPing. Like Empire's the first LARP I ever did. The only LARP I've ever done, really, outside of a couple of of those mega game things you can do where you play Watch the Skies. If you've ever heard of that, it's like you all get into a room together and play a board game. But it's that was kind of my first taste of it. That was cool. I think I really wish I'd been introduced to it earlier, because yeah, I was always a kid pretending things in my head all the time, very active imagination as a child. And I think I would have bloody loved LARP. And my only regret is I hadn't found something like Empire earlier, because I think I started LARP quite late. For most people start in their late teens, don't they? Really?
Yeah, I think that's.
When did you start?
Mid-20s for me. A bit of vampire LARP going on.
I think it was. Yeah, the masquerade stuff, or something different.
Yeah, so that's what it was for me. I think. Go on.
Yeah, I've been doing Empire LARP now for probably almost 5 years, but yeah, I think I started when I was 25, 26. So, yeah.
So did you ever play those what was it? Lone Wolf, the play by. So you have the books and you just read a bit and you decide what you want to do.
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
Well, so actually, it's probably worth mentioning that I did do D&D before for LARP, which helps a lot. I think. So I did D&D for probably. I don't know. I think me and Trot started looking at it a while back, a long while back, at least sort of 8 years ago. We didn't properly play it really until we met Mark Humes, who also introduced us to Empire LARP. So thanks, Mark, for both of those things, because they're awesome. But yeah, I think D&D was my first taste of building a character and role playing it over a table. Before that, obviously RPG games. The thing that I always compare Empire and LARP to is it's like World of Warcraft if it was different but made real. Like the fact that there's an economy, the fact that there's combat, the fact that there's a religious system, a political system, crime and punishment. I don't know. It's just awesome. It's making the things you play on the screen real. Really, to me.
Yeah, I like the fact that you go to a place and you escape for a few 3-4 days, and that it was really nice when they had the 4-day ones going on. That was really nice. But
don't bring it up. I hate hearing about it because I've never been to one, and I'm one of those people that would LARP in the middle of deepest, darkest winter. I feel like I totally get why people don't want to, but luckily, I'm young enough and stupid enough to want to freeze my balls off in a tent for fun. But yeah, the 4 days sounds perfect for me. Every Empire always feels a little bit too short. I find it harder now than I did to become immersed in that amount of time, because with the first couple you go to, you're just wide-eyed constantly, because you're if you're really interested in the game, there's so much to take in and you're always talking about it and asking questions, and B, just the scenery and the in-game areas that everyone puts up, and all of the lights and the torches and the fires and all the canvas, it's just a really cool thing to see. It's not something I've been on a lot of camping holidays, but everyone's camping in bloody, Van Gogh tents with fold-out chairs and it looks very modern camping. So when you go to a campsite where it's all canvas and everyone's using flame as light sources, it's really cool, really cool. But yeah, of course I'd wish it was longer, and I'd happily do 8 events a year, honestly.
Oh, definitely.
But then
definitely.
Yeah.
I think something that I really missed about the 4-day ones was you got to fight 2 battles, and and you could go on. I think I did one event with my friend Kit, the long-haired guy who normally comes down, played Mac's brother.
Yeah, I know Kit. Yeah, I know Kit,
We did, in one 4-day event, I think we counted 23 skirmishes.
God, Jesus.
We were a mess at the end of that.
Tired out.
We were gone at the end of that. But they were great because they had like the fort set up. They had loads of stuff like that. So it's like you've seen the war rhinos and all of that. There was a lot more monsters and things, but they just fell to a bit of disrepair and stuff. But I know that they're planning on bringing a lot of that stuff back. So
yeah,
but yeah. So. Well, you kind of answered the next one as well. So, who got you into LARP? So, Mr. Humes.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, he just explained it to me a few times. He'd got into it like a year or so before.
Yeah.
And I know he said he was going off to a couple, and I'm like, I think originally when I first talked to him about it, he was talking about a player event, and I was like, what? He's like, oh yeah, I'm going to a player event in like an old church in this place, and I was like, part of me's like, oh, that sounds awesome, and part of me's like, you're just going to a public church and dressing up and pretending. And he's like, well, it's not public, like we've booked it out and stuff, but yeah, it is like in the middle of a city center. And it was like, God, okay, all right, let's talk about it a bit more. And then I've talked to a couple of other people who do other LARPs and things like that, and eventually we got back around to talking about Empire. And some people were like, oh, Empire, it's like too serious for me. Like a couple of my friends who LARP, like they like the sillier side of LARP, like they like the stuff that's like, you know, the drinking with your friends element, and also just like a bit more of a free system, if you know what I mean, like a system that's more perhaps maybe narrative driven, or perhaps more sort of silly. Like for me, when somebody said Empire is kind of like the more serious, like rulesy version, I was like, brilliant. I way prefer that. Like give me a believable world rather than people like just going there to get messed up. And sorry, not to say that all LARPs like this. This was more the particular friend of mine who goes to this LARP is what I'm characterizing it out. I'm not saying that the LARP itself was like that.
Is it Trot?
I was like, okay, right. No, it wasn't Trot. No, it was no. I don't think Trot's not been to another LARP either. But
no, I was gonna say it was the whole getting messed up thing, because we can get a bit messy.
I think this person I was talking to, his main point was like they didn't like things that were too dense, you know, or very, very complex. And for me, I'm the exact opposite. Like I love knowing that there's like more to see, more depth. Like I want to see something that is just super, because I love my dense games. I love my dense video games, you know, like I like things that challenge me or take a while to understand and are hard to master and that sort of stuff. As long as it doesn't involve reflexes or coordination, because I have neither. Yeah, like I heard about Empire, and then eventually we rolled up, and the first day I was like quite anxious, like as in anxiety anxious. But like by the second day I was like, I completely forgot about all my worries, like everything else, because I was just in it. It consumes all of your attention, and that for me is like you say, a real nice escape when you can focus on something that's so interesting and exciting. It's a bit like, you know, when people say like, oh, when you're having mental health problems, you bury yourself in your work, or you bury yourself in this, you bury yourself in something else. Like for me, it felt like something to distract me, but a good thing to distract me rather than a bad thing. You know, something that like stimulated me and made me excited and had you interacting with other people. And yeah, it's super beneficial for my mental health, definitely. And it sucks that we're missing out on them right now, because I think everyone would love that.
Yeah, it really does.
It's kind of the antithesis of that right now, in that we're all stuck inside rather than outside in the field.
I think there's a big thing when it comes to where people talk about LARP and everyone laughs about it and stuff like that. I think a lot of it's such a positive hobby though as well when it comes to things like mental health. It's because I know that we've sat down around the fire and we've had a conversation about anxiety and things like that, and there are a lot of instances where people do suffer it out there, because that you are coming into a field where you don't really know what you're doing for the first time, especially.
Oh, it's overwhelming.
And there's a couple of thousand people around you, and you're just, holy shit, this is going on now. and then everyone starts talking to you, and you're just like, I haven't got a clue. But
yeah,
it's
for sure. I think it really depends on how you process anxiety. Like I years and years ago, when I was sort of a different part of my anxiety journey, I would be like, this is overwhelming, this is too much, like this makes me feel incredibly uncomfortable. Like, people, not only are people not being themselves, they're being something entirely different, and they're playing this kind of crazy game. I could absolutely see that. For me, I think I was at a different point where I didn't really get panicked by my environment anymore, but I was just like mentally just a bit down in the dumps or a bit shit, and that gave me something that was very interesting and exciting, and allowed you to put all the things that were probably causing that to one side for a weekend. And yeah, and like you say, like the rest of the hobby, like all the things you start getting into because of like medieval inspired LARPs, or like, you know, LARPs that involve things like costume creation, that involve things like music and stories and art creation, that involves physical fitness. You know, you go out and run around for a bit. It involves getting a decent sleeping pattern because you're in a tent and you get up with the fucking birds and you you know excuse me, like there is so much that is positive about being that in that environment, which is really awesome.
Yeah, you get to meet some interesting. I think it draws people from all walks of life as well. So, like for me, my experiences, I can say that I meet people who work as diplomats, people who are in the police, nurses, paramedics, doctors. I think I met a couple of lawyers and stuff like that. So it's people who are in proper blue collar jobs.
Yeah.
And then you see them getting stuck in the middle of a field, and it's great to see. I think it's one of those things. This chat's going a bit.
Yeah.
It's going mental at the moment.
I think you're right about the whole, like, seeing people of different backgrounds in a similar setting. Like, you would kind of think, I think, if you'd never met a policeman that goes to LARP, you'd like, well, policemen wouldn't LARP. That'd be too silly for them. They're too, like, straight-laced and stuff, you know? And then, like you say, you meet a few policemen who do it, and you're like, wow, my view of policemen is a bit fucking shitty, actually. You know?
It is,
like, as in, like, and yeah, like you say, the same thing with other things. It's like teachers and artists and like engineers and people like that, like people who make things as well is a really good one for LARP, because like if you can make things, like everyone wants your stuff. You know, you're like, oh, that's a really nice cloak or a really nice bit of leather work or something.
Yeah, I mean, my kit. We'll if we come onto kit then, because my kit is, if we compare kits, because your kit is incredible. It is absolutely amazing to look at, and you've got very much the Theoden vibe going on there. It looks fucking amazing. And mine is, but it's very much, I think it shows the different culture within the game, because obviously you've got yourself as the proud Steiner, and you've got me as the stinky swamp rat, and it really does show the difference between it all as well. And I think that's the sort of side of it as well that people jump into, and you've got definitely. I can't remember any of their names, but there are people out there who make absolutely incredible stuff, like the Hurstful book, for example.
Yeah, that was Umbra Arms, same as my armor.
Umbra Armory, yeah. I'm going to be
Umbra Armory.
I'm going to be contacting someone who makes it all the weapons and stuff like that, to see if I can get him on to come and have a chat about it all, because I think that could be quite an interesting one too.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Yeah, so we've got so a lot of people saying hi to you basically at the moment in chat. It's
hello.
If you scroll up, Max smells. He does. Eva, first one, winter 2017, where the weather was beautiful. So E1 this year would have been immaculate weather as well.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, it didn't even rain on Sunday like it was supposed to.
No.
Like, the weather was great this year.
Yeah. So people saying the fact that you can make stuff on your own is such a fun part to it. Someone forgot to eat or drink for the first hours.
Identity.
Sorry, say again.
Like you were saying earlier, like the costume, like the different costumes, and like there's so many different costume choices. Like, yeah, within Wintermark there's 3 different styles alone, but then if you look across the 10 nations, like it, even if you just like playing dress up and don't even want to play the game, you know, if you just want to sit in an environment where you've made some piece of clothing that you really like, and you just want to have a chill weekend sitting by the fire having a drink, or you know, just running around bashing stuff, like, yeah, the appeal on costume alone is worth it. Because that was, I think, quite a few years ago, probably about 4 or 5 years ago at least. I saw Tom Clark from the Yogscast. He borrowed his friend's LARP stuff, and it came and he had like this. It was like a real like kind of Aragon look, you know, like, so like kind of a ranger look, and it was amazing. It looked like this was a Halloween night, right? This is the same one where Lewis wore an inflatable blobby outfit and danced on the tables. But like he came in his like full LARP gear, and he had a full chain on and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, oh my god, you look like a movie extra. And like straight away I was like, I'd love a reason to wear that stuff, or like that looks so fun. And yeah, LARP absolutely gives you like a million solutions to that.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
definitely.
no, it's a big part of it.
Yeah, we've got people saying here that it's like the same, and they want and that. So Sam Wheatley, yeah, it's. But it's. I think one of the things that shocked me was when you play characters that are different to yourself. You obviously have a character that is you to an extent, but it's an extension of you. But you can do other things with it as well, which I think is quite nice, because it's. I'd like to say, like, Trot and Grim, they're very different. There's a definite parity there between the two people, and I think it's the same with me and Mac, you and Bron, to an extent.
Definitely. I think actually that's something I think about a lot. It's like, obviously I want Bron to live for as long as possible, but if I was to ever change character for any reason, I would purposefully go out of my way to create a character that was more involving to roleplay. And I wonder whether this is just something that everybody does at the start. Not everybody, a lot of people do at the start of role-playing. They build a character that is, like you say, similar to themselves in some regards, because a lot of the questions, a lot of the challenges and things you encounter in a LARP, like, and in conversations, it's easier to have part of your character made up of the real you, because if you ever fall back onto your like natural reactions about something, like I'm not a particularly emotional person. Things don't, you know, often make me cry. So for me, it wouldn't make sense to play a character that's incredibly emotive initially, right? So because I simply don't express that much. I tend to be more sort of like, let's talk about this, let's get to the bottom of this sort of kind of thing. And I've put part of that in Bron. But I think if I was going to make another character, I would try and move away from what I'm comfortable with just to play with it. Because at the moment I feel like I'm playing the game. Like I really want to play the game, like, you know, like win at Empire, so to speak. Try out all the systems, find out what everything does, try and optimize it. But in the next thing I want to do is the complete opposite, and just cause some chaos and change some stuff, you know. And I wonder whether it is just a common thing from people who in their first character they tend to make elements of themselves.
Yeah, but it's not your first character though.
It's not, but Elf and Bron are remarkably similar. They were brothers or cousins. Can't remember which one I said they were.
There's a question that's come up. Would you consider switching to a different nation?
Yes.
Yeah, which nation?
Precisely for the same reasons we discussed before. Costume change.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want Bron to die anytime soon, because that armor is very Wintermark and very customized. And if I wanted to change,
very expensive.
That's a fair bit of cash down the drain. Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's a bunch of other reasons too, but like that is a consideration. I'm not going to beat around the bush. But no, for me, I would change because I'd want to change culture and change costume and mess around with, because like I love Wintermark, and I think Wintermark gets a bit of bad rap, really, but like we are the biggest, and that's fucking cool. I'm not gonna lie. Like going into battle with a gigantic bunch of people is awesome fun. And also there are, like, you know, there are elements of Wintermark that I find really nice and really sort of not normal, but like I'm not one to wear a lot of silks and sit on a pillow all day, if you know what I mean. So like for me, like Wintermark was a bit more like, I don't know, my kind of thinking. But obviously the downside is with Wintermark is it's got its own opinions and its own culture and its own idea of things, which I think in another character I might, play with. Like I don't know, it's unbelievably complex. But I think I would change partly to sort of change the culture around you in terms of it's a new nation, it's a different place, different kind of traditions going on, different kind of things like that would be really interesting to see.
So, put on the spot then, which nation would you go to right now?
League.
Really?
Yeah, because I really want to do the style. I think the League style is very different to Wintermark and would be fun to be. I have this idea that I kind of want to be like a. It's really hard because the idea I have in my head can work, but it's kind of a pirate. So it's kind of like Venice meets Blackbeard, if you know what I mean. So like it's weird. It's a weird idea. Again, it's not something I need to address anytime soon, but I have this idea of this character that's kind of crippled, but a mage, and all sorts of weird stuff like that. But I wouldn't focus on money. I'm not going to League for money. I know League is like considered money making, even though it's not actually. I don't think. I mean, of notable League traders, I know too, and so really, League is just the style and the idea and the change of scenery, I guess, would be for me. What about you?
Well, Wintermark is Mac's third nation,
right?
Because he.
What were you before Navarre?
Urizen.
You were Urizen. I never would have guessed that.
No, I know. Mac was a throwaway character.
High Guard? Right,
Sorry?
Okay. I would have guessed High Guard.
No. Mac was a throwaway character. When I lost my first character, he was executed in the most beautiful way imaginable. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to play. So I was related to like the 2 feet in the Navarre. And
I wanted to. Were
you
playing in Urizen?
Sorry.
What kind of archetype were you playing in Urizen? Were you like a
Sentinel
or a Sentinel?
Sentinel.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did that, and I turned up in all the Navarre garb and stuff like, because his backstory was his mother basically turned around to him and said, "Go off to Anvil, help fight for Urizen, help them reclaim what they've lost," and stuff like that. So he did, and I turned up, and then I didn't enjoy the roleplay at all. The people were great. There was a couple of people within Urizen who I got on really well with, and so the roleplay was really good, but I just didn't fit. And so I had a chat with Dave Young, who was the Navarre egregore at the time, and we were just chatting away, and he turned around and was just like, "No, you're Navarre. I'll prove you're Navarre by the end of this weekend. I'll prove it." And he turned around at one point where we were all sat around the fire and stuff like that, and he just he turned around and he gave me a knife and he just said, "There are wolves coming through the gate. You need to come with me now to fight." So we both got up, ran across Danville, got to the thing, and he turned around and he goes, "You've come running here without any armor, any weapons, at the drop of the hat to help protect me. What's more Navarre than that?" And that was it. And so that night he made me Navarre, and I went on. And then obviously I met Ashenhall, met I can't remember who was the first Thane, played by Susan's.
Susan's character, Fane Hella. Was that? I'm terrible at remembering names.
Yeah, me too. That's why I do nicknames.
Hella. Maybe it wasn't Hella.
Yeah. But that was when I met her, and she came over to me as I was walking back from a skirmish, and Max I think, cousin had died in that skirmish. And she walked over and was like, what's going on? What's happening? And so I called her rude and said, go and get me a drink and I'll tell you. So she did. And we sat down, had a chat, and then I think Trot came out and sat down and was asking questions. We were just chatting and we sort of clicked a bit. And then I came out on a pub crawl with you lot, because I remember, because we were stood outside. We were stood outside the tent, and when you two dropped out of character for a little chat, and I dropped out of character, and I dropped the Irish accent, because you turned around to me and went, "Oh, you're not Irish." It was like, mate, this is like the worst Irish accent in the world. How much have you had to drink?
Yeah, I know. I genuinely thought you were. Look, yeah, that was funny.
But I think I would go. I want to go orc.
You want to go orc?
I would love to go orc.
It's such a commitment, though. Holy shit! Like,
that's
a long time to wear those masks. Like,
yeah, I did one of these chats with the orcs, and the orcs turned up in chat en masse, and they were incredible. The community, the spirit is fantastic. I think that's what appeals to me the most. They are incredible. So
I think for ultimate immersion, it's probably one of the best routes to go down. Especially also because there's that extra barrier. Well, not extra barrier, but that extra, like, as much as when you role play with a person, some people role play certain things better, and I think, or not that. Sorry, that's not the right way to put it. When you look at somebody in their role play, what they look like affects that role play, right? As in, or if affects that influence of that role play. You know, if I came up to you and said I was a small girl, and I started trying to role play that, you would probably just laugh. And I mean, partly because your character would find that hilarious that a 6'5" big old ginger tree man's come over and start saying he's a tiny girl and needs your help. Also, just because it's just absurd. It's just difficult. And I think what's really interesting about the orcs is it takes away some of that bias, in terms of how you perceive someone or how you see someone, because I think it immerses you even further, because you can't even recognize that person. It's not the person that opened their car boot this morning and unloaded and put all their crap out in front of you, sort of thing. Like, you have no idea. So it is interesting, really interesting from that perspective, I think.
Yeah, but I quite like that. I've got interest in all of the nations. I think, apart from Highguard is the one nation that I look at and I just can't get I don't feel anything for it. Yeah. So
I thought I imagined you Highguard. I guess it's because they're quite martial.
Yeah, I think I've got a lot of friends in Highguard in the Shattered Tower. Mm-hmm. So we had, with my first character, we had a nice bit of back and forth, because where I was a general, and they tried to frame me for murder and being a werewolf and stuff like that. So they literally printed out these flyers saying wanted, and it had my face on it. And it was fantastic. It was because they knew that I would look at it and just laugh it off. And it worked really, really well. So it got to the point where my first character was going into battle wearing a wolf mask, and I would howl at people, and they caused it all. And it was incredible. So that group, I'd consider going to the Shattered Tower, because I know them, and I know I would role play with them quite nicely and that. But the Highguard brief just doesn't overly appeal to me. But a Leaguish pirate, though, that sounds like it could be fun. I don't know how long you'd last.
That is the challenge. Like, in terms of matching the brief and how much liberty to take with that brief, because like, I understand why briefs exist, obviously. But sometimes I think certain people like to come down on things because it's like, that's not part of the brief. It's like, I don't know. Like, yeah, I know what you mean about certain briefs not appealing. In terms of like the way that people traditionally interact or what is important to them. Like that's something I actually struggle with in general in Empire and in role playing, is the idea that people can exist within a culture or a way of doing things and still not care about them. Doesn't mean they're not interacting with those things. It simply means that character doesn't care about them. So, for example, I feel sometimes when you don't interact with certain elements of the game or whatever, it can be a bit like you're not really engaging with this, or you're not I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just like, I think that a grumpy, cynical, critical person could still exist in the same world as it could here. So like being grumpy and cynical of things is sometimes a little bit like shouted down, or the idea like, so one of the things that always gives me a bit of a hang up in Wintermark especially is this idea of maggotry. Now I can't remember where I read it. I was reading something on maybe on Empire Facebook or something like that, people talking about like nobody in Wintermark really makes, I think it was Kitty, she was saying about how nobody's made a maggot character really, or like it's not very common. So a maggot is, if you're not aware of what it is, it's basically, it's seen as a dishonorable thing within Wintermark. So a person that sort of strips the dead, or perhaps sells or buys from the enemies, or sells and deals with the enemies of Wintermark and the Empire, as far as I'm aware. And so, for example, say some traders might be coming through town and they are selling goods that were perhaps looted in a war or stolen or whatever. It's considered maggotry on behalf of a Wintermarker to buy those goods from that person. Now, I've come up against this a lot in that I see it as you're denying your enemy the potential of a good deal. So say, for example, they're rolling through town and these guys have like some really important materials or something, right? If you don't buy them and they roll through town, they go off somewhere else and maybe they go visit the Jotun lines or the enemy barbarian lines and they sell that stuff, that enemy is now equipped better than you are.
Yeah.
And the only difference is you're not a maggot. Like, for me, it doesn't make sense not to do these things. And I want to try and make that point as a Wintermarker and as a character, because Bronn is very money-centric, very systems-centric, kind of, the what makes the Empire go round sort of thing,
Yeah.
And for me, sometimes this like staunch adherence to the brief in the not even entertaining the idea that a character wouldn't be in agreement with that kind of frustrates me sometimes, so a lot of people will go, no, maggotry is traditionally bad in Wintermark, I'm just going to say that every single time. And it's like, sure, I'm a character that grew up in Wintermark and I understand what maggotry is, but I've got a slightly different idea about it. And I feel like the problem with briefs are it's almost like a history and a culture that cannot evolve and change. So, all histories and cultures evolve and change. Everything does. And maybe it's simply a limitation of the game. But I just find sometimes people really attach to certain things in briefs and they just stick to it and that is it. And it's kind of just like, where's the room for growth and changing opinions and making advantages? So for example, say we said, well, you know what, it's not maggotry anymore, we'll deal with people coming through selling stolen goods, or whatever. I just think there's a different approach to it somehow, and that's something that irks me about briefs, basically.
I think with that you still have the means for role play around it though. You have that trader who'll walk into the moot and go, oh, I've got this, so I've taken it off of these dead people, and everyone goes, it's stolen, you've nicked them off of dead people, so that's disgusting. Get out and stuff like that. And they'll walk away and you could go, oh my god, that's horrible. By the virtues, I'm not going to deal with you, good sir. And then as they walk away and you walk away and everyone's sort of gone off, you could walk along and just catch them and go, right, come with me, let's have a quick chat. I want to have a look through, and you could buy it. So you still get, I think it's not atypical roleplay, I think is the best way to describe it. But I think if you could still do it in that sort of thing. If it's, I mean, from my opinion of Bronn, I think he is the sort of person who would go, that's disgusting as a public front. But as soon as that person was walking past, he'd go, can we have a quick chat? If no one was like looking from further up the road, I think Bronn would go, yeah, can I have a quick chat? And then you're just like, let's see what you got.
I guess perhaps because he's tried to be upfront about it, but everyone says, no, it's ridiculous, let's not talk about it. And I'll be like, all right, I'm just going to do what I can do in the background then. Yeah. And try not to actively harm the Empire.
I think it's all... You can use stolen goods and stuff that's been taken in a wrong way, I think, a dishonourable way, and it can still be used for the good of the Empire. I think that's the best way to describe it. if someone said I'd nick this off of this dead person, it's a sword that can kill a war rhino in one hit. And everyone went, no, that's ridiculous. We're not going to touch it and stuff like that. I'll be there looking at myself going, oh, I really want that sword.
It's almost like I'll take the curse. Could I deal with the curse? I think I could deal with the curse.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd go running into the battle, hit it once, take whatever, take some Twilight, and I'd be groovy for the rest of the battle. But yeah, I think it's that sort of thing, and I think I think we should all have a bit of an expectation to deal with that side of it, because that has been put into the game for a reason, and if no one reacts to it, then that sort of stuff slowly filters out of the game and is not going to exist anymore. So
yeah, true. Yeah, if you're not talking about the element of the game, why does it exist? I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I know that. I mean, Max.
It's like other uses for Truly Owl. Do you know what the other uses of Truly Owl are?
No, that's not my side of the game, unfortunately.
Permanent consecrations. So, like, Truly Owl is usually used for past life. Well, most commonly used for past life visions, but it's actually possible to like use it to do like permanent hallows, permanent consecrations. So you could concentrate or hallow ground that an enemy might be pushing into. For example, like there's I don't know. I just heard that tidbit the other day, and I was like, quite interesting. Still want a past life vision, though. You know, if you're holding a bottle of Truly Owl, you're like, oh, I do want a past life. vision.
Hurst too. We want Truly Owl because I'd love one.
Yeah.
I'd love one, but I think they'd look at my background and just go, who knows? I had I was talking to Plot Team. I did a chat with Plot Team a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely fascinating. It was really, really interesting how they come up with what they do with plot, because it's all down to keywords. So in your background, if you've got these keywords, they'll literally do a search and go, we want that. And they'll have a list of all these people who have got heresy, freedom cult, love cult, all of that sort of stuff. And they will put that bit of plot into the game, and they'll go, right, you've got 8 people here, go and find them all, try to recruit them to this if you can, or something like that. So
how will they have that information on who else has like heresy keywords and things like that attached to them?
It's all in your background. So if you put it in your background, and you also have a list of like things that have been bound to you, so they see the sort of stuff that you're interested in, you're after as well, and then they use that behind the scenes to try to tailor it and bring more stuff into game. The stuff I had no idea about until I was chatting away to them.
Yeah, I saw a little bit about it from a post that was done a while back. But yeah, like I didn't. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know how that works. I think some people feel a little bit futile when it comes to getting involved in plot. That's good to know things like that, definitely.
Yeah, well, you had that nice bit of plot thrust upon you from the auction, didn't you, with your mine?
Yeah, that was amazing.
So I mean, when you do find plot, it's great.
It was mind-blowing. Yeah, it was so good. Going into the forest at night with a bunch of people going to get a potential evil spirit out of the bottom of the mine that I owned, and like so many scum, like the team of people who do all of the encounters and stuff was just like amazing. It was amazing. I came back at like 1:00 in the morning or whatever after being out there for like 3 hours. Just like,
yeah,
that was crazy.
Was that where you found that sword as well?
No, the sword was cool. The sword was actually just something that when we did some raids, so my fleet did a raid on Dub Trade, and then there was also the Bjord trade or something like that as well up the coast from there that we raided, and there was an option put out saying like, get in touch with plot if you'd like something included in your pack and you'd been to this done this voyage or whatever. And I was like, yeah, sounds cool. What do I get? And I thought it might be, because it was such a huge success, it was like maybe a magic item or something like that, in my naivety. And I was like, yeah, can I have a magic item please, like wink, and yeah, it turned out it was this sword that was hallowed to a false virtue, basically. And we did a load of research around it, and I was like, oh, I wanted like a curiosity and all this sort of stuff, and they're like, And then eventually the priest said like, oh, you know, yeah, you can keep it as long as you keep it locked away and don't use it. It was like it's a heretical sword from Bjorraid, or how you ever pronounce that. And yeah, it was really interesting, really fun. I got a couple of different priests involved in it. And then eventually, Arhan, our Stormcrow from Ashenhall, hallowed it. So yeah, if you get heretical swords, they can be hallowed again to be something else, to be something hallowed to another virtue, and they get to name it as well. So yeah, he like took the sword back and he like dealt with it and all this sort of stuff, and then hallowed it and called it what do they call it? I know it was Thrones. I want to say Thrones Bane, but that sounds bad. I don't think it's Thrones Bane.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, anything with the word Bane in it is generally not a good thing.
Yeah, oh god, I need to go and get it out of the bloody storage and have a look at it again. But it was really cool. It was a really nice touch as well. It was fun to get it and like, oh, it's cool. Got a hallowed sword.
Yeah,
yeah, that was fun.
So yeah, you get that, and you've got. I'm involved in challenging the Iron Duke at the moment. Mac and Grim have done a joint challenge of the Iron Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear the letter that got read out about that? Because I'd say 95% of people who do the challenge, it's always, I'm the greatest warrior, I'm the best fighting, I challenge you.
You guys had to show you were the greatest lovers or something.
Yes,
like that?
we are the greatest lovers in all of Anvil. Yeah. I remember when the guy, the herald, came into the tent and we were sat down, and he was reading it. He stopped. He literally turned around and said, "I need to drop out of character," and he was just pissing himself laughing. He's like, "I've never seen anything like this. I don't know how to respond to this." And he goes, "But," he said, "apparently, the god they were laughing. They saw it and were just like, this is going to be interesting." Unfortunately, E1 was when we were meant to get our challenge. So we've missed out on that. So E2, there will be a challenge coming forward. So it's all about us being the greatest lovers and wanting to protect our friends and family. So hopefully it's not a go and kill that thing. So, but...
Well, I mean, so they set the challenge. So it isn't like you go, right, well, Iron Duke, lucky you, tonight you're being wined and dined by the finest lovers in the Empire. Yeah. And you guys just take him out on like a night out. Like,
that would be brilliant.
Probably a fun time for the NPC, right?
Yeah, we would take the Iron Duke out on a date.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear. Yeah. Grim has the lube. I have the plugs. Let's have some fun here. That could be
iron, Mr. Duke.
Oh dear. Yeah, that could be quite fun. So, what would you say then?
Batteries in my headset. Go for it. Sorry.
Excellent. What would you say is your best and worst moment at LARP at the moment then?
I think the best moments are the unexpected moments of roleplay. Like just some of the conversations and stories and events that happen, and you're just like caught off guard because you're like, oh yeah, I know this is happening, or like, oh, we're going out to battle. There's a good chance somebody might die. Like those are like sad as hell when it happens because you want your friend to continue that character that you're attached to. But for me, like just some of where I feel like I'm over my head is for me actually probably the best roleplay. Like sometimes I'll get into a situation where I'm like, this is like, I don't know enough about this. These people are far better role players than I am, but I'm loving kind of being a part of it. And that for me is really awesome. I love that. Worst parts for me are like gatekeeping in LARP. I think is a bit of a pain in the ass in terms of like gatekeeping game. Like I think that because there is such a big culture around LARP and a big culture around the people that go and then all the other LARPs that people play as well. Sometimes I feel like you kind of have like a bit of a barrier to entry with some elements of it. And also the people sort of Yeah. I feel that sometimes that is the case. I think sometimes, and I think with the people that actively are in those privileged positions of like perhaps being around in the game for a very long time, knowing a lot about it, perhaps being attached somehow to the workings of the game, or part of the LARP scene in general for a long time. I think it's awesome, and I've definitely recognized it when people like that help lift up new players,
Yeah.
and like because you do feel somewhat inferior when you first start because your kit usually isn't as good as everybody else's. You sometimes don't have the tent that can stay in character and all that sort of stuff. Like it can be a bit overwhelming and daunting to sort of say, like, put yourself into a situation and say like, I think I'm the best for this or something like that, like, because I think it gets met with a lot of criticism sometimes. I think for me that's something that we need to be aware of, and that people in the community and in the game need to be aware of, because it definitely happens. And yeah, that for me kind of pisses me off sometimes. So yeah, but to take it back to a better note, those kind of situations happen extremely rarely.
Yeah.
I think that's probably happened to me 3-4 times in the 4 or 5 years I've been going, where I found sort of hit a bit of a brick wall of like a person sort of being like, oh no, you don't really know anything about this, you're not really involved in this sort of thing, and you're being like, oh shit, like I just wanted to be part of it, but again, that happens super rarely.
Yeah.
And also sometimes just like, when sometimes your role play doesn't really work with the other person's role play, and you're like, for me, I'm quite a light role player, I think, like in terms of I will respect another person's role play. I will talk. I won't break character and I won't break people's immersion. But equally, I could have quite a regular conversation with people, as opposed to some people who are very much heavily into like the plot or whatever they're doing at the moment, which makes them a lot more sort of like they are living their character. And because of that, maybe they're less. It's harder to communicate with them. You know what I mean? Like those times prove kind of challenging, but yeah, not anything bad, not anything bad at all. And those good role play scenarios probably come around 4 times an event. When you've just like had a situation where you're like, that was really cool. Like that was really cool.
Is there one that springs to mind?
There's quite a few, really. There's quite a few, and also there's ones I forget because I've got a terrible memory. So like, obviously the mine one was crazy. That was amazing. But at the same time, like, when I hesitate to talk about it because I know there was some contention around it. But when some familiar-looking slaves helped me out, helped the previous character out, then that was really good. So there was a bit in a fight where I was downed. Well, I wasn't downed. I wasn't bleeding out. It's all very contentious. I don't know how many people in the audience are actually Empire players or whatever. So, yeah, I essentially, well, my character had been incapacitated and that one of my legs had been disabled. So I was on the floor and I was sat against a wall with my shield, and I was like, crap, like I can't move. We'd fought a bit. The line had come up, pushed us back. I'd gone down, and I dragged myself up against a tree to sort of stay out of being trampled and all that sort of stuff. And then the army just moved on, and so the enemy army moved on, and the friendly army just moved off back through the forest somewhere. And I'm like, well, I'm not dead. I've got a damaged leg. I can't walk out of here. But I mean, what's to stop me just sitting by this tree to wait for help? Like in my mind that made sense. And I was like, oh god damn it, our army had fully retreated by this point. I was like, I'm dead, I'm long gone. And the barbarians start coming through, like checking bodies and all this sort of stuff, and I'm like, in a minute one of them's going to see me leaning up against this tree and I'm going to be in big trouble. Lo and behold, a couple of thralls came along wandering through the forest, and I got their attention, and luckily I had a huge pocket full of potions. Now I managed to convince them to help me. They dragged me through the forest in full chainmail, so that couldn't have been very easy. Dragged them through the forest, poured a potion into my mouth, and I left them with, must have been going on 25 potions, I reckon, or about 40 herbs or something. It was a good watch for those random thralls that made their lucky day. So they poured the potion down my throat. I stood up, and as soon as I stood up, the various barbarians around me were like, "He's not dead!" And they just started sprinting after me. So I had this sprint through a forest in full mail with like 6 barbarians chasing me, blasted it through the gate out into the field, and then managed to hook up with the rest of the army. But for me, that was pretty crazy, pretty hilarious, and just like the fact that I came back to my hall and just had an empty pocket where I did have like all these herbs and potions and things like that. It's quite funny. But yeah, no, I had a great time with that. I think there's a lot of combat stuff that comes out, which is just mad. Very, very funny.
I obviously have no clue what you're talking about, and I don't think I had. I think it was 12 mage bloods and stuff like that in my pocket afterwards either. It was great. Right. But no, that was good. I did enjoy that actually. That was quite fun.
Yeah.
I do enjoy. I think the combat as well is a question here. So what did those thralls do with those potions? Did they keep them for their characters or turn them in somewhere?
I don't know what they did with them.
They turned them in to the potions tub.
The appropriate authorities.
Yes. So when you finish monstering, you have to, and you walk out. If you've collected anything off the players, it all goes back into a big tub, and then it gets recycled back out into the field. So,
guessing that's where they get some of the stuff to give out to NPCs before they go out, or like monstering people.
Yeah. It stops them all being kept in one place, I guess. Yes, as Eva said, they should hand them into God. Yes, and they did. The fighting is quite a big part. It's I don't know if you've seen it. There's some GoPro footage on YouTube.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
And it's I think it shows the best and the worst of it all.
Yeah.
It shows when you're really close and you're fighting the chaos that is around you.
Yeah.
But it also, there's some moments where it shows that you can see some people off and they're just doing the tippy-tap rubbish and stuff like that, which is, for me, the worst of it all. So, but what's your experience when it comes to combat?
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. It's awesome. Like, absolutely, I know what you mean about, it does show some of that sort of like almost riot, being in a riot kind of feeling, you know, when you're just like, it's super messy. But like, the experience of like being out on the field with a bunch of people is so fun, like so awesome. Like the lines and stuff like that, and like when you see the enemies coming up towards you and you're like, oh, I'm gonna beat the crap out of these guys. Or like sometimes when you're like really outmanned and you're like, oh my god, there are like 3 units of enemies coming in on our 1 unit, like we really need to think about this, and like the panic that runs through it's just for fun. It's a simulation of fighting without all of the downsides of fighting. It's very fun.
It is.
Personally, I don't mind getting whacked. I try to pull my blows a lot, but like it would be cool to be in an environment where it's like you can go a little bit harder, because obviously like in Empire you aren't really meant to hit anyone with any kind of force. It's meant to, you know, feel like a contact, but nothing that can do any damage. But that's, you know, that for me, the prescribed amount of that pressure, it could be more, it could be a bit more intense. I think the problem is the more intense you get with it, the more chances there are for people to get too hot-headed. But yeah, I love the combat. I would happily, again, like it's like what I was saying, like I'd happily do an event in the middle of winter, you know, and freeze my balls off. Like I like that shit. I don't mind a bit of getting beaten up. I don't mind a bit of that. Like, so yeah, no, I mean, the combat is perfectly fine in Empire. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't feel like I'd change it that much. But if I could, yeah, I'd probably be a bit more physical. But you know, it's not as inclusive, I guess, which is fine. But yeah, no, I love the combat. Really look forward to it. Love going out like through the Sentinel Gate. That's always really awesome. Seeing everyone there, like you know, seeing you off and all that sort of stuff. That's really fun with the drums and everything. It's brilliant. Yeah, I love
the
it. There's not much I could say.
Yeah, when you stood at the gate, you hear all the stuff going on, and you're walking through, and everyone's clapping and cheering you on. The adrenaline really starts. You start to think, I'm just gonna fucking do this one. So we did. It was a skirmish. I don't think you went on it. It was a 3-wave skirmish, where Dawn went in on the first wave, Wintermark went in on the second, and Navarre were coming in on the third. and
Right.
basically was to hold a gate at the end. So you know where the field goes, you go around the copse of trees and that, and you got that entrance to the woods. Dawn were meant to go round and hold that. Sorry, Dawn, I'm going to be bashing you here. Dawn went round and held that, and basically, I think it was the Druge challenged them to an honourable fight in the field. Dawn moved back. They all came through, but they outnumbered Dawn 3-1. Dawn got annihilated. Wintermark came running through. We were it was the Jotun elites.
Right. I was going to say it's unlike the Druze draw for honourable fights.
Jotun.
Yeah,
no, it was the Jotun. I've been corrected. It was the Jotun.
Yeah.
And they got pulled back. So Wintermark came running through, and I remember being stood next to Grim and us coming through, going, "Yeah, this is going to be good," because you can see what's going on through the gate anyway, and you're like, "Oh, I can't react to that." But then you go through, and all you saw was Dawn getting smashed to pieces. They were completely surrounded. It was a complete and total washing machine. And we came running through into that, and we were like, "Oh, this is going to be bad." So we came running to support, and the other part of them came and hit us. And we just got pushed back and back and back to the point of where Grim went down, and I'm stood over him, like fighting off 3 orcs. And they got us surrounded. Then people came and hit us, and we just got. I picked Grim up, and we got pushed back and back and back. We were back at the gate when the Navarre came through, and they literally were in this fight for 10 seconds. They came running through. They came through us, hit them, and then came running back out again and took us with them. That was an absolute mess, but it was one of my favourite fights ever, because you were just. Oh, I'm going to die. This is it. This is all over for Mac now. We're dead. So, yeah, like, looking at Grim is like, yeah, sorry, mate, we're fucked. we're done here. No one is surviving this. But, yeah, we came out of it, and it was just like, yeah, I don't want to do that again.
Exactly. That is exactly, I think, why that made that encounter I had when I nearly died and got dragged out exciting. Because you think, like, shit, my character is dead. Like, everything I've been doing on these weekends for the last few years has now come to an end, and you're like when I unexpectedly lost my first character, I literally mourned for like 2 hours. Like I was like in shock. Like I didn't go back to camp. I just wandered around for a bit, went and got some food, and I was just like, God damn! Like I didn't want my characters. Like sometimes people want their characters to die or whatever, or finish their arc. Or I was not ready at all, and I was just like, and then it happened with Braun, and I was like, holy shit, I'm going to die again. Like, for fuck's sake, my horde is going to murder me. But yeah, that feeling you feel when you're like, oh my God, I made it out. I thought I was dead. It's like the best thing ever. You're like, it's a big rush.
Eva has just said that the person who planned it was killed in that first wave.
Well, at least they went down with their plan.
Yeah, we're perfectly to plan, yeah. Trust the Navarre to pull everyone to safety. They didn't really. They were in that fight for 10 seconds. They ran in, hit the line, and then ran away, as did everyone. Yeah. So, yeah, no one came out of that skirmish looking good at all. But it's
my first character, Ulf, died. He got like the same sort of thing. We got it was on a skirmish, and we got overwhelmed, and just couldn't beat him. Like not enough people on the skirmish for a start. And so now, I really think twice before going on a skirmish, because they are so often how people lose their characters.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. I think they're harder. They're harder than regular battles for surviving because everything's on you and on small unit tactics, which is really difficult. Like you don't have like a big second wave coming to back you up. It's hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. It is a lot more brutal. I think when it comes like. I got asked this when I did Comic-Con last year when people were talking to me and they said, what about character bleed and stuff like that? Does it affect you really? Or are you in a bit of a... Or is it all right if a character dies? When my first character died, I took a year out of the game. I was gutted.
Really?
Yeah, because I've been playing him since... I'd been there since the beginning. So when it all happened, I was just like, nah. I actually walked away and I was in my tent crying. Because I was just like, I felt like a part of me had gone.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, I didn't like this, don't like this, don't want to play anymore. So I went away. And then talking to the people who were still playing, they go, no, it's amazing, it's still epic and all of this. They were like, yeah, come back and play, yeah, come back and be a member of our family and stuff like that. So I did. And now here I am talking to you about stupid things characters do. But it does happen. And I think everyone, when your character dies, you all feel that pang, because it does affect you. It really, really does. It's like even when other people die as well. Because we did... have you witnessed Whispers Through the... Is it Whispers Through the Gate?
Whispers Through the Black Gate, yeah.
Yeah. Have you done one of those yet?
I haven't done one. Oh, I So I went and saw Chris Gallen's old character when he was like lying in state. Achilles. And he winked at me when I went in and saw him.
Was that when he was in that tent? And he had... No, the Whispers was where they actually summon your soul back.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen one in action, I must admit.
Because they did that for Mac's uncle, and of course, because he was killed in battle, because we wanted to say goodbye to him, and we summoned him. You know Justin. He's taller even than you. And he's quite an intimidating guy. And when we summoned him, people normally come like walking out of the tent going, what's going on? Where am I? Nah, fully armed, running out of that tent, threatening everybody. and it was just like, oh, I miss him. But it does affect
he
you.
died in combat, and so like they thought like basically he's still in combat. Yeah,
pretty much. So, but it does affect you to the point of it's like one of the questions I get asked a lot is how will Mac react if Grim dies? In all honesty, I'd probably retire my character.
Really?
Yeah, because I think Mac and Grim have become synonymous with each other, and they do everything together, especially in character drugs, and. So, yeah, I think it would affect my game that much that I'd have to come up with something new.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That makes sense.
So,
I think probably it would happen similarly to people if like all their hall died, right?
Yeah.
Like, thankfully, I don't think there's much risk of everyone dying in Hearst Hall at once. I think we've got enough safety precautions in place. Although Chris Gallen's talking about taking the field now.
Really?
So, yeah, he's a mage, and he could have a Staff of Imperial Mastery, which would be very fucking useful. Especially because, unlike Grim, he knows how to use it.
Yeah. I don't know. I love Empower. That's a great thing.
Yeah, Empower's... But, I mean, there's every spell, every combat spell in the game that he can do. And sometimes I find myself reminding him, I'm like, right, repair that guy's thing, heal him, and shatter that guy with that fuck-off spear, because he keeps stabbing me in the gut and it hurts.
So... oh dear. So they've comparing Mac and Grim to Romeo and Juliet. Phil H001 for Thane. That's Helen, by the way.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah. So yeah, she's but it does seem to be everyone is talking about skirmishes, and yeah, they are the thing. But Chris Gallen has only ever taken the battlefield once, though, hasn't he?
I think he probably did it a little bit more like previously, but not for a very long time. Yeah, and the most recent time he did, he got killed. So
yes. Yeah. I did enjoy that. Did you get blamed for his murder at all?
No. There was. It was confusing. There was a bit of questioning going on, but no, not really. In fact, I don't know what came of that. I heard it was a Navari who's now left the game. So
yes,
you know,
I mean, this is all OC knowledge. Don't use this in the field.
Yeah,
because I got blamed for it at one point. So yeah, Urizeni were walking around pretending to spit on me. It was really odd roleplay. I wasn't used to that. It's like all of a sudden I'm a pariah from my nation, essentially nation of birth. It's like, oh, Excellent. that was quite interesting. So, apparently his interim character did 15 skirmishes in one day, and his beard got chopped off in a traumatic wound.
Was it the big like wispy white thing he was wearing?
Oh yeah, that was when he was in Dawn, wasn't he, for a little while?
I'm so glad that he's finally picked a character that doesn't have fucking prosthetics, because he had the bloody horns as Achilles. Then, as the character previous to this, he had that big white wispy beard in Dawn.
Yeah.
It's just like, why do you do this to yourself? Because he was always like, oh, my beard's coming off. I'm like, why? Why do this to yourself? And now he's with us, and thankfully he doesn't have any of that shit.
Yes. Very, very true. But
Although,
the only reason he went for a beard is because he can't actually grow one naturally.
I don't know why he doesn't. I guess I don't know. He gets one like around here. I don't know if he gets enough here.
Just like the little childlike things that's like bum fluff around his face.
Yeah.
It's nothing really that special there. But you know, one day he'll grow up to be a real man.
I would like it if I could be a cambion, but only when I want to be. You know, like I feel like committing permanently to like a big headdress is a lot of work. But I would quite like to be a cambion at one point. Just have some like nice sloping back antlers. I think that would look quite fun.
Oh, so again, like Helen's horns that go.
Yeah. So it just keeps them out of the way, doesn't it? Doesn't make them such a pain in the ass.
Well, we could, as Eva has said in chat, you've got the Twilight Masquerade, so you could always try it out.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't like to go like Uncle, you know, with the really bronze horns, with the massive, really huge ones. I mean, they look epic. They look fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But it's kind of a commitment. It's part of his character, right? I think that I just want some sweepy ones, and then wear like a big long coat, a bit like Blackbeard. A Cambion Blackbeard who's a mage is my current idea, basically.
Really?
Who somehow follows league guidelines. But yeah, that's what it'd be like. Yeah, but yeah, maybe I should try out Masquerade. I think me and Helen spoke about making horns before. I think when I was talking to her about her headdress.
Yeah. Well.
So yeah, maybe I should get some tips.
Ava said my favourite is Sarusto, real Goblin King energy. Sea Penguin says it's great until you want to go into a 10 with the horns. Ash from now on. My changeling friend hates entering and leaving tents because of his antlers. I think a lot of people do. You see a lot of people's antlers getting broken and stuff like that in battle as well.
Yeah, they're quite delicate and hard to keep on your head when you're swinging around it, because they're not attached. I don't know if you know this, Steve, but they're not actually real antlers, so they're not attached.
Fuck off! Don't lie to me.
My immersion.
How dare you? How dare you come here and lie to my face like this?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've seen it like headbands, Alice bands, and stuff like that.
There's
certainly
some good solutions out there. Just got to choose one, I think.
Yeah, I think there's an entire group on Facebook dedicated to how to make these things. So it's it's quite an interesting one. So another question then was you can't stand too close to another Cambion or Changeling in case you get entangled. Yeah, I think I've been poked in the eye numerous times by horns and. Sorry, Helen just sort of giggled next to me. She's obviously thinking of cock. So,
right.
But it's so the question that I find quite interesting to ask people is how do you psych yourself up for Empire? Because I know a lot of people it's music, other people it's films, some people it's they sit down and read a book, a specific book and stuff like that.
I'm the most hyped for Empire 2 weeks before Empire, and then in the week before Empire, I'm stressing myself out, packing and sorting everything. And it's not until about an hour before I get to the site, because it's like a 2.5-hour drive for us, well, I'll start putting some music on that'll get me in the mood, and sort of get me in that sort of medieval state of mind. But yeah, for me, I always think like 2 weeks before a LARP, I'm like, I cannot wait. I'm going to do this, and this. And then the week before rolls around, you're like, where the fuck is my kit? Where are my boots? Oh, my sleeping bag's rotten. Oh, this tent's missing all its pegs. Like, and you're like, fuck, why do I do this to myself? And you get so caught up in all the admin of like having to manage your tent and your kit and everything that you're like, I'm just going to get there, I'm going to set the tent up, I'm going to put a seat down, I'm going to sit down, it's going to be amazing. Like that's how I see preparing for LARP personally.
So is there a specific like bit of music that you put on? Is it the sort of some band? Is it or a genre or?
My go-to is Ward Runner, if you know who they are. They basically do music that's very like Scandinavian inspired. Like,
Okay.
I know that technically Windmark aren't Vikings, but they're from the north and it's cold and
yeah,
they wear fur and they're
we're
brown.
Viking, not Viking.
Viking, not Vikings. Yeah, I mean, but even how they're written is like very Northman. But for some reason, we're not Northmen. But anyway, I play, Ward Runner is spelled Wardruna.
I'll have a look at them.
But they're a good band that does very sort of amazing atmospheric kind of stuff. Yeah, and that always gets me amped up.
I think a lot of it will boil down to what sort of character you're playing as well. So if you're playing quite a laid back, chilled thing, you'd put on something nice and melodic and just and go through it all and things like that. I put on death metal. I will listen to some absolute hardcore stuff, and gets me going because that gets me to the right sort of mindset for Mac. And
you're totally right. It really depends on the character you're playing, completely. Like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's as Helena said, not in her car though. No, I have to put headphones in for that one. But it's a lot of it is down to that. It's like there's High Lung as well, who I know a lot of people listen to when it comes to it. So, and there's that.
Is that more death metal or is it like traditional music?
No, it's Scandinavian.
Right, yeah. That's
as well. So it's actual.
Yeah.
You have to have a look at them, and because their look is incredible. It's like kick goals right there for Empire. It's fantastic. Sam's just said it's like Ward Runner, actually.
Yeah. No, I figured they do the same sort of thing. They have like traditional Scandinavian instruments and stuff they play on stage, and it gives like a really awesome like drones and all that sort of stuff. Like the stuff it's very epic. Like that's what I like for LARP anyway.
It's something to get the old the adrenaline going. That's what I need. I need for it all. And then
I think there's almost a darkness associated with it as well, which is probably partly why you're getting the heavy metal, like the death metal, and I'm listening because that stuff is very like, very prepare for battle kind of music in terms of there's a kind of darkness that I think some people enjoy putting in their character in Empire, because you can play quite a dark, grim person in that world, because the reality is we are getting pushed on four fronts and we are losing territory and people are dying, and the reality, the non-reality we're playing. I quite enjoy that kind of darker element personally. I think it makes things feel more at risk and more involved.
So would you ever in the field, Eva has just said we are the baddies. I'd agree with that. I think we definitely aren't the good guys out there. But would you ever consider coming out and taking Twilight with Mac and Grim? Or is that not the sort of thing that you would be?
I don't think I'm very good at that kind of role play, and it's not really something that I don't know. No, to be blunt, it's just not something I'm particularly interested in terms of. I like the idea of selling it, and that there's I like the idea, and that there's a fact that there's like an illicit supply of something, or there's like where's this stuff come from? Like, what does it do? Like, I love all of those things. For me, actually role playing, like being on it, I find really difficult because I know what some of those things feel like, and it's really hard to pretend to make that kind of feel that way. It's like pretending to be drunk when like you've been drunk.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's just a limitation of me. And I mean, it probably is, because I'm not a very intense role player in a lot of ways. Only certain things really like get me emotively engaged, because I like to kind of approach the world like I approach life, where I try to be as rational as possible, and try not to let my emotions steer me. And I think that just that reflects in my character.
Oh, that's fair.
But I don't know. That's basically it, really. It's just something that I haven't been drawn to, I suppose.
I don't think it's I think it's one of those things that a lot of people look at it and they enjoy it where you can point and laugh, and it sort of gives them a bit of a lift in their game. But actually getting involved in it, I don't think it is. I think it takes a certain person, because I did hit the very first person who took Twilight in the game, because PD apparently put out they put out 3 drams of it. They bought one for themselves, and then they went off into their tent with their mate, and they stayed in there and they took it. And that was it. No one saw it at all. And then Mac and Grim turned up, bought the other 2, and we did a whistle-stop tour of the entire Empire. We walked to everywhere around there, and we were doing stupid things. We had people cut us. This is why at points we had scars on our faces. We did everything, and I'd like to think that sort of made everyone look at it and go, what are they doing? And then it's become a lot more popular in game, which is why we need to buy it all.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm more than up for that.
Yeah, so we had it was quite an interesting chat in character with Nina, because we decided that Mac and Grim aren't intelligent enough to run that sort of thing, so we'd put Nina in charge of it all, and we'd go out and sell it. But if people want to buy more of it or anything like that, go and have a chat with Nina. She's got her head switched on. She knows what she's doing, stuff like that. So
it's like you've got like you're the enforcers and dealers.
When we're not high, that's pretty much what it would be. I think it would create a nice bit of game for people around there as well. Cause,
definitely.
And we obviously get the. I know Mark loves it really when Mac and Grim are high, and we harass him for an hour, and he's sat there, and we walk in. we walk in, and he just looks at us. It's like you can see his expression. He's looking. He's like, right. He knows for the next hour we're coming for him, but it's good. So there's one question here. It's how I always like to bring it to a close, and I've asked everyone this question, and it actually came from Helen's mum. She asked this question, and she thought it'd be good to put it out there. So, simple question: why do you LARP?
Because it's like the best kind of holiday. Because it's an escape, definitely. I think maybe that's because it's at the tip of my tongue, but for me, it's the escapism. It's the same reason I play any computer game, any board game, to put my mind to something that isn't now, that isn't this. Like that's the reason anyone watches a fictional TV show or reads a fictional book. It's to engage your head with something that isn't your reality. Yeah. And I think that there's a base human desire for that, and I think that's why a lot of people do it. Basically, that's what I would say. I'd say if you're looking for a way to explore a new reality, LARP's a great way of doing it.
Yeah, definitely. So, have you seen as well that they have released Assassin's Creed Wintermark?
I have, yeah. I saw the trailer for it.
Yeah, looks good.
You looking
Looks
forward
good.
to that? You gonna play it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm
Yeah.
currently finishing off Final Fantasy VII. So.
Oh really? What, the remake?
Yes.
You enjoying it?
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm currently.
I've had a lot of people say
Helen hates me playing it because I've been playing it for 30 hours so far.
Yeah.
So I'm just.
One.
Yeah. So
There's
yeah.
maybe 3 more games like it.
I can't. I think. I hope part 2 and 3 live up to it.
I'm sure they will.
I don't.
They'll have better technology by then as well.
Yeah, I really am impressed with it. It's a fantastic looking game. Yeah, really hit me in the feels. A lot of it. It's like you remember, because I played it all those years ago when it first came out with my cousin, and we were up for like 30 hours playing it straight, all the way through the nice. I think it was 4 discs for the original PlayStation.
Yeah, I remember it as well. Yeah,
and that
awesome. It was a very important game for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
How old are you now? If you don't mind me asking.
21.
Of course you are.
Yeah.
Alright, you can buy this beer.
Yeah. No, 39.
39. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking. So I was about 12 when Final Fantasy VII came out. I seem to remember.
Yeah. I was a little bit older. But it was, it's just one of those sorts of games that, always just happy to play, and I can't wait for the next parts and stuff like that, and just hope that it's not going to be, in my mind, I don't think it's going to be as good, because the original is always better. But it's still a fantastic game, and I will still love it. I know I will, so.
It'll be cool to see the Golden Saucer, or whatever it's called. The casino arcade place in like fully rendered. That's what's kind of interesting about it as well. It's like you remember all these places in your memory, but like because they were like shitty renders back from PSX days. Yeah. To see it again now in like high definition is like, whoa, this is so cool.
It's going to be like, how are they going to do the whole chocobo thing? So where you could breed chocobos and you could fly around. And all of that sort of stuff, and you get the summon materia. Do you remember Knights of the Round?
Yeah.
I want to see what they do there. That would, just everything coming on around. How are they going to do that? Yeah. I really don't know. I'm dying to see what they do there. But I will be definitely getting Assassin's Creed Wintermark when it comes out as well. It does definitely look good. So, so thanks so much for doing this, mate. Really, really appreciate it. It's been great to talk to you about it all.
Yeah, you too. It's been fun catching up, and hopefully we won't have to wait too long for an event. Who knows? But here's fingers crossed.
Yeah, I do hope so. I need to be back in a field. I need to be...
All of this stuff that people are organising, like what you're organising and what other people are doing on Facebook around LARP, it's just like fueling this online hype for LARP now. And now I think it's just like, it's really great. It's really nice to see it all and to see people talking about it when we can't go. Like, as in it's a good alternative. But I think it's also having this other effect of just getting people really excited to do it again. So like whenever that comes around, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I did that. So we had Tentade, which was good. A lot of songs and stuff, and then we had songs and story time as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and people are doing podcasts and all of this sort of stuff to add to it all as well. So there is, so if people are watching and they haven't been to Empire or they're interested in it, Facebook, just go. There is so much there. Ask any questions. There is. There's too much information out there. There's so much that's going on.
There is far too much information out there. That's very true. It's just mind-boggling.
It really, really is. So I will bring this to a close. So thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for the people who have followed me as well. I don't know why, but I'm drawn to Spunky Bumlove. They're following. That's...
I recognize it, definitely.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, That's a name that I recognise from some of us. That's really good. So I'll be putting all of this. I'll put this onto YouTube as well with all my other chats and stuff like that. So so thanks for doing this, and I'll do this again soon. I might poke Trot and Hume, see if they fancy having a go.
Do it.
And that, so it could be a laugh. Get more people on there. I think the big one will be Matt P.
Yeah.
Yeah, he won't do it. He won't do it. But it'd be nice to try.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, so thanks all for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
See you later.